Shannon and I, Henry, will now share an embodied centering poem that centers us together in the spaces we are in and the spaces that we have inhabited. Throughout the poem, there will be an embodied gesture that you are all invited to participate in to the extent that you are comfortable. It may be raising your hand or spirit to grounding your feet or spirit to the floor. Let's all take a deep breath in and then a deep breath out. Together again, let us take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. In spirit and embody, become mindful of the ground in which your feet and spirit are planted on.
In spirit and in body, become mindful of the ground in which your feet and spirit are planted on.
Rest them, spirit to soil, skin to soil, concrete to soil, Pacific School of Religion, treading on Huichin territory, of ancestors and unceded land of the Chochenyo Ohlone. Say it out loud, pressing on your souls.
This is Huichin territory.
Say it out loud, pressing on your soul.
This is Huichin territory.
So that flora, fauna, present caretakers, the divine, and ancestors can hear you. This is Huichin territory.
This is Huichin.
This is.
This. Cup your spirit and hands to your ear.
Cup your spirit and hands to your ear.
So that you can hear the flora, fauna, ancestors, and present caretakers rooting and sprouting, hibernating and hunting.
In wind and in water, cooking and creating.
From everlasting to forevermore. Listen.
Do you hear it? With hand and spirit over your heart.
With hand and spirit over your heart.
Let our heartbeats be enough for our call to break chains, vocations of freedom, and so we sing love in public, in the genre of peace with justice, in the key of liberation, to the tempo of our yearning pulse, peripheries moving to the center. Do you feel it?
Like a marching band full of grandmothers who are carrying their ancestors' dreams.
Do you feel it?
Like rain pattering on gentrified streets and roses bursting from the concrete, with hand and spirit over your heart.
Do you feel it?
Let us close with hand and spirit raised toward others.
Let us close with hand and spirit raised toward others.
For neighbors, dead friends, and comrades.
We remember you.
For the dog, the houseplant, the endangered and extinct species.
We remember you.
To the people we haven't met yet.
We remember you. They argue if the communion cup is either half empty or half full, it doesn't matter anymore. We pour the rest to you. Benedictions turned into rallies.
Beautiful.
Because a good word always center us towards solidarity. Let us breathe in.
This is Huichin territory.
And let us breathe out. Let us breathe in.
From everlasting to forevermore.
Let us breathe out. Let us breathe in.
Singing love in public.
Let us breathe out. Let us breathe in.
Solidarity.
Let us breathe out. Let us breathe in. Amen.
Let us breathe out. Ashe.
We'll not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. What we have been forced to leave behind, we needed to leave behind. What is getting us through is what we will need to take forward. All the rest is up to us. Dream. Dream of the life you want. Dream of the world you desire to exist in. Look for the places in your new dreams that have parts of the old normal and remove them. What is the dream then? From there, we can add to the collective weaving of whatever it is that is next. If we are going to heal, let it be glorious. Here ends our reading. Let us pray, O divine presence, O disruptive spirit, O healing wisdom. We gather today in celebration, not to remember former things, not to consider the things of old. No, we gather today, now, and in the sacred space of this present moment to celebrate a new thing, something which is only now springing forth. Grant us the grace to perceive it. O Holy One, you make a way in the wilderness. You trace new rivers in the desert. You bring forth new life amidst despair. Refresh us, reinvigorate us, and renew us. For all of your creation is beloved. Each of us is holy, and all of our journeys are blessed. O Divine One, on this day of commencement, this day of new beginnings, we offer you thanks and praise. We dream, we rise, and we join our hands, our minds, our bodies, and yes, our souls as we work together to build a new way. Amen. May it be so.
Breaking things wide, moving forward in a world that will never be the same again. There are times we need to be broken. The vessels, these vessels in which we reside, can be restrictive unless we allow the flesh to break so that our soul can break through and move forward in a new and different way. Sometimes something needs to be broken down in order for it to be rebuilt into something that is even better. We have to believe that that abundance, that promise exists. So what does it look like in this world that has changed so much, especially since last year? We've had a lot of time to be broken down, to feel alone, to feel sad, to mourn and to grieve. And we've had time to sit with our demons, those demons that have sat inside of these vessels, constrained and fettered to who we were. But now we are bursting open with the realization that we are loved, that we love ourselves, that there is hope on the other side of this pandemic. Our spirits have been loosed. Our spirits are moving forward to create a new world. And we're able to do it all together, which is very exciting. Look forward to what's in the future. Look forward to the love that can be shared with others. Break open wide. Let your spirit come forth and create change. That's my plan moving forward. That's what I plan to do. That's what I've been called to do.
I'd like to say that the program, Doctor of Ministry program at the Pacific School of Religion has been a lifetime experience for me. I had the chance to do a deep dive into my core and reflect on the meaning and purpose of life. I was able to interface, albeit remotely, recent times, and not enough in person. Yet, nevertheless, strong relationships have developed across a diverse group of professors and also within my cohort group. The global pandemic has changed the world so much that relationship management has actually become paramount, especially because of the lack of in-person meetings. I will be spending my summer refining my one-on-one course offering for values-based goal setting into an online program, and developing an action plan for the book that will probably come out of my dissertation topic, which is Leading with Virtuous Conviction, Introspecting the Leader Within Us. As an executive coach, I have to be able, and I hope to be able, to help anybody interested in their personal development, whether at work, in family, or in the community. I hope you all have a wonderful summer filled with love and joy, and I once again thank you all for the opportunity to be part of the Doctor of Ministry program. God bless you. Bye for now.
Bring your celebration, bring your joy.
Bring your pain, bring your grief.
Bring your weariness, bring your anger.
Bring your eagerness, bring your resilience. In this sacred space, in the moving of the Spirit, we behold, we perceive, we bear witness to what is rising forward.
Open to the brokenness.
Collect the fragments.
Lay aside what does not serve.
Taste what turns to dreams on your tongue. In the sacred space, in the moving of the Spirit,
we behold,
we perceive,
we hold
what is breaking
wide.
We were made for this ache that opens us to new dreams.
We were meant for the struggle that calls forth a new future.
We were blessed for this breathing that draws us towards one another.
And we were created for this grace that scorches us into the blazing day. In this sacred space,
in the
moving of the Spirit,
we behold, we perceive, we are never
going back.
rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're everywhere. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're everywhere. Rise, lifting our children. Rise, wisdom of elders. Rise, ancestors with us. Rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're everywhere. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're everywhere. Rise, up from the wreckage. Rise, with tears and with courage. Rise, fighting for life and fighting for freedom, fighting for justice. Rise,
Breaking wide and rising forward in a world that is never going back to what was. What ought I to do? I rise forward with the courage to resist attacks and break down walls by unmasking, debunking, and promoting a new counter-narrative to life-halting and life-limiting traditional, historical, colonizing dogmas of misogyny, cisgender white males. Breaking wild with God front and center, I soar forward as God's co-creator with new life-giving ways of being and serving a good religion embodied in God's love through the mysteries and fresh winds of the Holy Spirit. I rise with intentional tenacity to be a visible voice and critical listener in the public square, pushing back against the internal and external forces that promote and rejoice in the failure of our marginalized Black, brown, and queer bodies. Standing tall, I strut with the audacity to stand up, take ownership, and be accountable to my 100% whole self as a sassy, Black, queer, and same-gender living woman unapologetically. When we intentionally self-reflect, we know how to act. What ought I to do should become easier. Do the right thing. Have the courage to think differently, have the courage to be differently, and have the courage to love differently. Breaking wide and rising forward into our what's next. Have the courage to do the right thing. Love.
Greetings in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I stand together with my fellow graduates in recognizing the significance of the theme for this year, never going back, breaking wide, rising forward. I believe this theme calls us to impact many dynamics that needs to be engaged as we move forward of the graduating class of 2021 Pacific School of Religion. O te whahasio ki mui, holoki pe whakatu'u. Koe ui au whai mā ki tau tolu, o ku tau kaumo e ki kaumo e o tua, ke o te whahasio ki mui ka tau kakapa ki mua. Pe tau holoke ngahi āwahe wahe, Kai lava e whengawe aki, pe tau whakatuu a sisu kalaisi I he mea katoa pe. Kai lava ki tau sio ki ho tau kaunga whanonga, sio ke ngahi whaingata ia, mo ngahi mea kaure rei ki he whanonga o tau whai. I wish you all a blessed endeavors o whātu.
I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Welcome to the 154th Commencement of Pacific School of Religion. My name is David Vasquez Levy, and I serve as president at PSR. These powerful words from the prophet Isaiah were spoken to a people on the verge of returning from exile. Isaiah's words speak into our own experience of displacement and exile, wrought by a year of pandemic, protests, and polarization. Like the original hearers of these words on which we will reflect today, we are invited, challenged indeed, to imagine the possibilities of a highway through the desert, of a community where lamb and lion might lie together, of a time when everyone will sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one will make them afraid. To those in exile, as it is for us today, return to what was is not an option. Clarity about what will be is yet beyond us. We are at the beginning, at commencement. We are never going back, but instead we are breaking wide, rising forward. Dear class of 2021, you came to Holy Hill from journeys from across the bay to around the world. When you came to PSR, we committed to you that we would seek to do three things: to blow your mind, to embolden your heart, and to strengthen your hands. It is my prayer that your time here with us has helped to frame the passions that you care deeply about into a larger frame. That you have explored practices that will help you draw from a deep well to sustain yourself and the communities into which you are called. And that you have sharpened some of the skills that you will need to contribute to the creation of a world where all can thrive. For the ways we have been able to shape your journey, we are grateful and blessed. This day is a day of many firsts for you and for those who have helped to shape your journey. You are the first class to graduate having been through the full cycle of our stackable approach to education. Therefore, several of you will walk across the stage figuratively today more than once. As you do so, I want you to imagine what are the possibilities that each of the degrees that you will receive holds for yourself, for your classmates, for your communities. As you commence this new phase of your life in a time of great peril and great possibility, think of the job applications for which your certificate of spirituality and social change, sexuality and religion, or theological education for leadership will best capture what you can contribute. Imagine the new transformative ventures you might be equipped to pursue with your Master of Arts in social transformation. Help us and our partners within and beyond the church to reimagine how your Masters of Divinity or Doctorate of Ministry will help us to reshape chaplaincy, congregational ministry, and movements of social change. I am about to do a new thing, says the prophet on behalf of the divine to those contemplating a return from exile. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? As you go from this place to impact congregations, organizations, and communities, you join the distinguished alumnex ranks of PSR's spiritually rooted change makers. With gratitude for the ways you have helped to shape our community, we celebrate your accomplishments and the work of many who have helped you to achieve them. Congratulations, PSR Class of 2021.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Pena, and as Interim Dean and Vice President for Academic Affairs at the Graduate Theological Union, it's my privilege to participate in this commencement for the Pacific School of Religion, Class of 2021. I'm very pleased to bring you greetings on behalf of the GTU. For nearly 60 years, the students in our member schools have been learning together, and the faculty and staff have been collaborating together to create something special in the theological landscape. This remarkable consortium of schools, centers, and affiliates has given us a lot: the best theological library in the Western United States, arguably the most vibrant and diverse theological community in North America, and a pedagogical model of collaborative engagement across differences. But the best gift of them all the GTU has given to the world is its students. Those of you graduating from the Pacific School of Religion both contributed to and benefited from this extraordinary community. We are proud of you and grateful for what you have brought us in your time here. Graduates, on behalf of all your colleagues on Holy Hill, I offer you congratulations on your accomplishments and best wishes as you embark on whatever adventures await you in the future. To reflect your commencement theme, never going back, breaking wide, rising forward, I would like to close my remarks by sharing the words of U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo, who is a performer and writer of the Muskogee Creek Nation. This is the end of her poem, A Map to the Next World. We were never perfect, yet the journey we make together is perfect on this earth, who was once a star and made the same mistakes as humans. We might make them again, she said. Crucial to finding the way is this: there is no beginning or end. You must make your own map. Thank you, and best wishes to all.
Fafita eke. Praise be to God. Hallelujah. COVID-19, 2020 and 2021, 2 historical years in the 21st century. We made it through. Because of the divine and the almighty power of God, we can do all things in Christ. We can do all things. With man it is impossible. But with God, with man it is impossible. All things are possible. But with God, all things help me, O God, to trust in you all the days of my life. Breaking wide and rising forward. Don't ever look back. Glory be to God. Prophet Dutton.
For me, Drew Johnson, breaking wide and rising forward looks like housing justice. Berkeley is the most expensive, most unaffordable college town in the U.S. Berkeley's greed-centric real estate industry currently revolves around racism, sexism, ableism, queerphobism, all the isms of a caste system, or what Rianne Eisler has labeled a dominator system. At PSR, I've learned about practical spirituality and practical anti-racist, anti-discrimination, spiritual resistance strategies that are working right now to build a better world. From my very first class I took at PSR with Reverends Ms. Ann Jefferson and Dr. Jim Lawrence, we learned about engaged spirituality. From the Center for Swedenborgian Studies at the GTU, we learned about Swedenborg's practical spirituality of usefulness. These practices can progress us individually and in turn progress us as a society. From Reverend Dr. Dorsey Blake's class at PSR, we learned about an anti-racist resistance work that emerged out of the Black freedom struggle and the beloved community New Religious Movement. Community land trusts. Community land trusts have the power to effectively disrupt the current greed-driven, racist real estate industry and create permanently affordable housing. Seminaries can be at the forefront, touching off this whole wave of housing justice, impacting the whole world by establishing permanently affordable housing for its Black, Indigenous, people of color, women, disabled, LGBTQ, low-income, single-parent families, students, staff, faculty of PSR, and the whole wider community of the GTU and its member institutions. At PSR, we can apply the lessons of our own instructors. We have the choice to break wide from racist dominator system real estate practices. Instead, we can be rising forward, participating in the establishment of community land trusts to create permanently affordable GTU community housing.
A reading from Isaiah. All tis karu, ris so note, bakad mo ni yot, all tit o nanu.
Voy a hacer algo nuevo. Ya está sucediendo. ¿No se dan cuenta?
Te ngau I hala I he whanua maonga noa. Ani vaitafe I he hala.
Te hab danu dani tayat ha sa de. Tanim uv not ya'a na.
Yo hago brotar agua en el desierto, ríos en lugares desolados, para dar de beber a mi pueblo escogido.
Koe kakai ko ngauhi ma'aku. Tenau a au whakamalo whawhitai. Amen.
Do not remember the former things or consider the things of old. I'm about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the deserts. The wild animals will honor me, the jackals and the ostriches, for I give water in the wilderness, rivers in the deserts, to give drink to my beloved people, the people whom I formed so that they might offer thanks and praise. The word of God for the people of God.
Rights And no 1,000,000 bows can drown out fear. And no 1,000,000 bows can drown out fear. And no 1,000,000 bows can drown out fear. Drown out fear. Can drown out fear. For history was mute witness when such crimes discovered and discredited our times. Take up the drums and speak when thunder comes. The civil righteous are finished being meek.
Hello, everybody. My name is Malika Boudili. I'm graduating today, and it is my tremendous honor to introduce our 154th commencement speaker, Kazu Haga. So there is so much more to Kazu Haga than I could ever explain in the few minutes that I have, but I would love to just tell you a little bit about him. Kazu Haga is a social justice activist, an author, a teacher, and founder of the East Point Peace Academy. Now, this is an organization that is dedicated to sharing how to embody the teachings of Kingian nonviolence, how to engage in restorative conflict resolution, and how mindfulness can help social justice movements effectively organize and advocate. So Kazu Haga leads trainings on these subjects in a variety of contexts, including prisons and jails, high schools and youth groups, and also with activist communities around the country. And his heart is so clearly, earnestly invested in this work. He started being involved in social change and nonviolence when he was only 17 years old. And at that time, he participated in what was called the Interfaith Pilgrimage of the Middle Passage. This was a 6-month journey, a 6-month walking journey from Massachusetts to New Orleans to retrace part of the slave trade. This several-month journey was essentially a living prayer designed to honor the lives of those so brutally subjected to the slave trade, visiting places where they had been, and commemorating the dignity of those who suffered unfathomable cruelty. He also spent a year studying nonviolence in Buddhism while living in monasteries through South Asia before embarking on social justice work more extensively in the United States. All of this before the age of 20. On a more personal note, Kazu Haga's book called Healing Resistance, A Radically Different Response to Harm, was a game changer for me and for so many of us here at PSR who had the good fortune of reading it. This book helped me to realize that we can't afford to be siloed in our lanes. So though I came to PSR to be a Buddhist chaplain, and though this has, through the kindness of others, come to fruition, in reading Kazu's book, I realized we can't afford to just be chaplains, or just be preachers, or just be teachers. We can't afford to just be parents, or just be employees, or just be cocooned within whatever identifiers make us feel comfortable and cozy. We can't afford to separate ourselves and our responsibilities in this way because interdependence is not a lofty, abstract ideal. It is a verifiable fact. This truth demands an investment from each one of us to do our utmost to deeply care for one another. In other words, we can't afford to be bystanders. So how do we engage with the world, and how do we dive in? Kazu teaches us that it is not only courage and will that will accomplish this, but real skillfulness. In Buddhism, the Sanskrit term for skillful and strategic means is upaya. For me, and for so many of us here, Kazu is a master of upaya, of the how to be invested in one another's freedom, how to be skillful and privilege the well-being of everyone, and how to do this wholeheartedly. He gives us a clue when he says that nonviolence is not just an absence of violence, but as he puts it, it is a proactive stance. It is a proactive stance against violence and injustice, affirmatively working to repair harm. I know we can learn a lot from Kazuhaga today, and hopefully for many, many years to come. And so it is my great, great, great honor to introduce this year's commencement speaker. Please join me in body, mind, and spirit in welcoming Kazuhaga.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Malika. And thank you to everyone in the PSR community for having me here. Really amazing, beautiful day. I was thinking back to the first time that I ever stepped foot on PSR's campus many, many years ago now. And I don't even remember at this point what event I was there for. I had just moved to the Bay Area and I didn't know much about PSR. But I remember I had to go to the bathroom at some point. And I remember going to the bathroom, and it was actually the first gender neutral bathroom I had ever seen in a public place. And I stepped foot in the bathroom, and there were all these flyers for different radical events that were happening that was being hosted by PSR. And there was also a basket of free condoms being given out. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, this is a different kind of seminary. Like I didn't grow up in a Christian background, so I didn't know a whole lot about seminaries, but it wasn't necessarily what I expected when I stepped foot on campus there. And now, if you look at the Pacific School of Religion's website, on the homepage is a statement about justice for George Floyd, and is a statement about radical inclusivity, and are words like resistance and words like justice. And we all know that religion has been used in the past to placate people and to oppress entire communities and to perpetuate harm. And we also know that the heart of any spiritual tradition is about liberation, and is about freedom, and is about community, and is about belonging. And so I'm incredibly humbled and honored today to be able to join you all at a seminary that gets that understands that, to honor and to celebrate and to congratulate the 2021 graduating class of PSR. I've had the great privilege in my life to be mentored and trained by a lot of elders from the civil rights movement. And being involved in that work, I've learned a lot about the importance of the word legacy and what it means to be part of a legacy and to honor the shoulders that of whom we stand on. And when I look at an institution like PSR, we know that part of the legacy are people like Victoria Kolokowski, the first openly transgender trial court in the history of the United States, and people like Bill Johnson, also graduate at PSR, the first gay minister ordained in a historic Protestant denomination way back in 1972. People like Georgia Harkness, who was the first woman to become a professor at an American theological seminary and the first woman to become a member of the American Theological Society. And people like Bob Fitch, who not only used to work at Glide Memorial and the Resource Center for Nonviolence, which are two communities and organizations that I have a really fond relationship with, but also became one of the most important photographers of the US civil rights movement and really helped to document that history. emergence teaches us that all of us in this exact moment, we are riding a wave, the single source of energy that has been expanding throughout the universe since the moment of the Big Bang, and we're continuing to ride that momentum forward. And as graduates of the Pacific School of Religion, it's those names and those legacies that will be the momentum that you're stepping into. And so that's both an incredible honor and a big responsibility, right? But what an honor and a privilege it is to join such a powerful force, a powerful legacy, a powerful momentum that's going to move us into the future. When I was 17 years old, I was in a place in my life where I was incredibly lost. And I oftentimes tell people that at that point, if I had met a military recruiter, I would have gone to war. And if I had met a cult leader, I would have joined a gang. And luckily for me, what happened was I met a group of spiritual leaders. I met a group of Buddhist monastics who, as Malika mentioned, were organizing this thing called the Interfaith Pilgrimage of the Middle Passage. And I didn't know anything about what this pilgrimage was going to be. Like, now I look back on it and think about the just the grandeur of that vision of trying to heal from the legacy of slavery by walking from the United States eventually back to Africa to retrace and to reverse that legacy. But at the time, I was just a 17-year-old kid. I dropped out of high school. I was doing nothing with my life, and I was bored. And so I heard about this pilgrimage about a week before it started. And I told my mom, I was like, I'm bored. This sounds kind of interesting. I'm going to check it out for a week. And I left home for a year and a half. And I remember several months into that experience, we were down south and we were holding a ritual at the site of a slave rebellion. I forgot where it was, somewhere down south. And the people who were on that walk, on that pilgrimage that were of African descent, created a circle in the center, and then everyone else created an outer circle around them. And at one point, one of the folks in the middle circle, in the inner circle, walked around and asked all of us to turn around so that the folks of African descent in the middle of the circle could have a little bit more space for themselves. And in that moment, the pain and the heartbreak of generations of African ancestors came pouring out of the individuals who were in that inner circle. And I heard a depth of pain and suffering that I had never heard before, that I didn't understand could exist at that depth. And I started crying and I broke down. It wasn't just at the pain that I was hearing in their voices, but it was the realization that people benefited from that level of pain and violence and destruction. And that people still benefit to this day, that many of us on this call still benefit from that level of violence. And I broke. I completely broke. It was the first time I cried like that in a public space as an adult, as a 17-year-old. And in that moment, I realized that I could never go back, right? That I could never go back to a time of not knowing the incredible legacy of violence that this country is built on. And it was in that moment of my heart breaking that I was also able to find a lifelong commitment to try to create healing as much as possible in my lifetime. Fast forward 10, 15 years later, maybe, I was here in Northern California, and I was at a week-long gathering of about 30 young social change agents talking about identity and transformation and healing. And this time, I was in the inner circle. We were doing what are known as gender fishbowls. So all of those who identified as male were in an inner circle and everyone else was outside. And we were talking about our experiences of what it means to identify as men and as males in the society. And for some reason, I was inspired to speak about a childhood experience that I had never talked about publicly. And it was a traumatic experience, but up until that point, the story that I had told myself was this was something that I had experienced at that point 20 years prior. So I had told myself I was over it, right? It was a difficult thing that I experienced decades ago. I moved on, I'm over it. But the moment I started to talk about that experience, again, I completely broke down. And I had no idea how much pain and how much trauma I had still been holding on from that experience. And again, I broke. And again, I realized in that moment that I could never go back, that I could never go back to a time when I could honestly tell myself I'm okay, that I'm healed, that I've moved on. And it was out of that place of heartbreak that I was able to sow a seed that took me many, many years of work to see the results of, but that I was able to sow the seed of knowing that I had to have some conversations with my family that I'd been too scared to have up to that point. And it was that seed of healing. Fast forward a few more years, I found myself in another gathering of a group of about 50 social change activists. And after a few days of being in that space, a conversation about patriarchy rose to the surface. And I remember one time we were having lunch during one of the lunch breaks outside, and we continued to talk about patriarchy, and there was a woman who said, you know, patriarchy isn't something that just affects women and non-binary folks, that it takes something away from men and cis men as well. And it's a framing that I've heard before, but for some reason, that moment it landed. I guess I was ready for that message to land. And immediately I was hit with a wave of emotion. And I knew that I had to cry. But people were having lunch and there were multiple conversations going on, and I didn't feel safe in that moment. So I decided to go into the woods by myself, and I found a quiet space among some trees. And for the first time in my life, I tried to cry. And immediately I broke down. I didn't even know what I was crying about, but just this wave of emotions hit me. And about 30 seconds into it, I had stopped because I caught myself wondering how Kevin Durant was going to fit in with the Warriors because he had just signed with them. And I was like, no, wait, hold on. I have more that I need to release. And so again, I tried to tune into my body, and the moment I did so, a wave of emotions hit me and I broke down again. And about 30 seconds later, I had stopped. And I found myself wondering what was going to happen in the next season of Game of Thrones. And I kept doing this for a while and just observing myself, knowing that I had so much that I needed to release. And as soon as I started to try to do so, my mind would kick in. And at some point I started to get angry because I realized in that moment how much patriarchy and our conditionings around gender roles had taken from me, that it had taken away my ability to be whole, that it had taken away my access to one of the most important modalities of healing, our own tears and our own sorrow. And it was in that moment of heartbreak that I was able to commit myself to understanding how important it is to do the work of undoing patriarchy and to reclaiming my wholeness. And there's another story that I want to share, which is a little bit different, but a few years ago, I had the honor and the privilege to facilitate a dialogue between a man named Richard, who is currently serving a life sentence for a homicide that he committed as a young man, a dialogue between him and the mother of the young man that he killed at this point over 20 years ago. I could speak for hours about what happened that day, but I remember a moment when I was walking Richard around the corner of this prison to meet Cynthia, and he completely broke down. The moment he saw her, he just completely broke down. And I remember Cynthia standing up and just extending her arms outwards, and they embraced in a hug that felt like it lasted for 10 years. I remember a time later on in the conversation where Cynthia was holding Richard's hand, and this is the hands of the person who took her son. And she was holding his hands and saying, I had a dream about holding your hands last night. And Creator told me that I needed to touch your hands because these are the hands that took my son's life away, and that I need to have a different relationship with them. And in that moment, I knew again that I could never go back. That I could never go back to a world where I didn't know that that depth of healing was possible. That human beings are capable of that level of transformation and that level of healing. And I will always take that with me, what we are capable of as human beings. And all four of those stories, if I really think about it, has two things in common for me. One was this theme, right? That we had to break wide so that we can rise forward. And that there's redemption in that sort of breaking wide. Knowing how broken this country is. Knowing how broken I had been. And how broken a mother's pain is. And it's out of that place of brokenness that we can remember the possibility of healing that can emerge from that. And the second thing that was present in all of those moments was the presence of spirit. And at times, that spirit was the spirits of those deceased African ancestors that was teaching us something. At times, the spirit was the trees that held me as I cried in those forests. And at times, the spirit came through the individual people who were there, helping to guide that process, whether it was Richard and Cynthia or the facilitators at the gatherings that I was in. And that's what it means to be a spiritual guide, right? It's a big responsibility to support and hold people as they break so that they can rise. Because people can just break, right? I remember the first time I ever facilitated a workshop years ago, and a person started crying for the first time. And I froze and I was like, oh my God, like I was trained to facilitate a curriculum, but no one trained me how to do this. Like, how do I hold this space for this person? It's a big responsibility. And in a sense, that's what it means to graduate from a place like PSR, right? To help hold Earth's tears, to help us to break wide and not break apart, to break open and not break apart. And that's an incredible responsibility. It's an awe-inspiring responsibility and an incredible honor and a privilege. It's been a hard year and a half, hard 2 years, hard 5 years, right? And I can only imagine all the times that you all as graduates wished things could have been different, wished that you could have been meeting together in person, wished this graduation could have happened in person. And in the midst of all of that, the racial justice uprisings, what's happening in India now, what's happening in Palestine now, and how hard it must have been for each of you to stay focused to get to this place today. Over the past year, many of us broke, right? Many of us lost families. Many of us lost friends. Many of us lost parts of ourselves. And through all of that, you all persevered. You got here. You stayed on the path. You were able to somehow balance all of the heartbreak that was happening in the world with your vocation of knowing that you needed to be in your study so that you can be of service. And today is a celebration of all of that labor, that commitment, that sacrifice. But not only that, it's an opportunity for us, the non-graduates who are part of your community, to send you off with blessings. And also, if I may be so bold, to send you off with a request. As human beings, we're all creatures of belonging. And yet, I'm saddened by how so rarely any of us feel that in our society. Like, how often do we really feel a true sense of belonging, that no matter what happens, we will always belong? How many of us feel like if I share my most vulnerable thing, my most shameful moment, that I will still belong? Because that's what real belonging is. And to me, nothing is bigger than belonging in faith and belonging in a community of faith. that spirit can give us the ultimate sense of belonging. And so that's my request to you as you move forward in this next phase of life, is to stay so rooted in your own sense of unwavering belonging, belonging in God, belonging in PSR and in this community, belonging in your vocation, that not belonging is not even an option that you would think about, so that you can support others to see their belonging. I think that is the biggest gift that we can give to the world. And this past year with the pandemic, it has shown how isolating our life can be and our society can be. So let us never go back to a world where it's okay for even one person to feel isolated. And let all of us work to provide that sense of belonging to every single person that we touch. I may not be able to see all of you right now because we're on this Zoom screen. I know many people are on YouTube. But for all of the graduates, even though I can't see all of your faces on the screen, I want you to know that all of us, the faculty, the administration, family, and friends, that we all see you, truly see you. And that we're so grateful and proud and inspired by the choices that you made to be here today. And so inspired to think about the gifts that you're going to be bringing forth to the world. So thank you for all of your sacrifices, and congratulations for this day. Thank you all.
What does breaking wide and rising forward mean to me in a world where things will never go back to the way they were? First, I would never want things to go back to the way they were. It can't. Breaking wide and rising forward reinforces why I'm here on this journey to spread the message of the unconditional love of our divine creator and the message of the unconditional love we are to have for our neighbor. Nothing and no one will stand in my way, because the power of positivity and love will overcome the power of negativity and hate. I will rise forward in positivity and break wide in endurance while I'm on this journey to spread that message.
Greetings, I am Monica Joy Cross, and I will be reflecting on breaking wide and rising forward. Breaking wide and rising forward. To break. To break is to shatter, to dismember, to take apart. To no longer have wholeness. To open to something new. Of course, to break wide, to be wide, and wide must be seen in contrast to narrow. For many times we suffer from this idolatry of narrowness. And God seeks to broaden our understanding, to broaden our experiences of what it means to be a human being. What does it mean to love? For God's love is deep and God's love is wide. And then we have and rising forward. We rise forward from a reimagining of what life can be. We rise from a reimagining, a renegotiation of the social contract, a reimagining of what life looked like, because in order for the kingdom of God to emerge, we must be in a constant reimagining of what life looks like. Amen. Thank you.
Though today is a day of celebration for us as we ritualize the completion of our various programs, there is also much to grieve. We are about 17 months into a global pandemic that has disrupted life as we knew it before March 2020. And even as we reevaluate what it means to be a community here at Pacific School of Religion, we must grapple with the events that made what was once our normal lives possible. 183 years ago today, the Trail of Tears began, one of the most shameful, horrific chapters of US history. The Trail of Tears forcibly displaced over 60,000 indigenous people of no less than 5 nations over a 20-year period. The federal government and military conspired to empty the southeastern region of Turtle Island of those who stewarded the swamps, lagoons, woods, fields, and rolling hills, and clay-filled soil of what we now call the Mississippi Delta. Each of us who is not Indigenous actively benefits from the displacement and disposition of over 590 Indigenous nations on Turtle Island. Our school, our homes, our places of work and pleasure were constructed on lands that we now unjustly occupy. This is a heavy thing to hold, yet we must be unafraid to carry it.
Each of us is differently proximal to these deep, continued wounds as both survivors and perpetrators. Each of us who are not Indigenous are differently complicit in the settler colonial project of what invisible, arbitrary boundaries define as the US. Yet we remain hopeful and intentional that a better, more just world is possible, and to find ways to move forward with integrity. For these reasons, the class of 2021 chooses to present our senior class gift as reparations to the Sogorea Te Land Trust. Led by urban Indigenous women here in the East Bay, the Lisjan Ohlone people continue to thrive and build community. Sogorea Te is simply one example of the many, many movements that support the self-determination and sovereignty of Indigenous communities. We invite anyone who would like to add to our contribution to visit the PSR website and click the Donate tab. Designate your donation to the senior gift option next to the text that reads Fund. The Shumi land tax, as the Land Trust's website elaborates, is about repairing our broken relationships with each other and the land we live on. No amount of money will undo the damage that's been done, will bring back the lost lives, or erase the suffering of the people. But this is a step in a long-term process of healing.
From the Holy Book, Sister Outsider, by Gamba Adisi Adra Lord. Those of us who stand outside the circle of this society's definition of acceptable women Those of us who have been forged in the crucibles of difference, those of us who are poor, who are lesbian, who are Black, who are older, know that survival is not an academic skill, nor is it a seminary skill. It is learning how to stand alone, unpopular, and sometimes reviled, and how to make common cause with those others identified as outside the structures in order to define and seek a world which we can all flourish. It is learning how to take our differences and make them strengths, for the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. They may allow us temporarily to beat him at his own game, but they will never enable us to bring about genuine change. And this fact is only threatening to those women and men and others who still define the master's house as their only source of support. We are standing at the edges of each other's battles. The war is the same. If we lose, our blood will congeal upon a dead planet. But if we win, there is no telling. Deep structural change is what is required. Cosmetic change will no longer suffice.
Each year, the Pacific School of Religion honors student excellence in building community, preaching, the study of ethics, and queering religion and theology. These awards were presented at the Graduates Chapel on May 18, 2021. The Marcella Althaus Reed Award for the Best Student Essay in Queering Religion and Theology. To honor the pioneering theological vision of Marcella Althaus Reed, the Pacific School of Religion Center for LGBTQI and Gender Studies in Religion presents an award in her honor to the Best Student Essay on Queering Religion and Theology. Marcella Althaus Reed was born in Rosario, Argentina, and received her first degree through a center in Buenos Aires for the study of liberation theology in Latin America. With a PhD from the University of St. Andrews, she became a professor of contextual theology at the University of Edinburgh. She also trained for the ministry of the Methodist Church of Argentina. Her first book, Indecent Theology, published in 2000, quickly raised her profile throughout the theological world, and with the publication of Queer God, she was on the forefront of a brand new and controversial field in the academic study of theology. She passed away on February 22nd, 2009. This year, this award goes to two of our students for their excellent work in queering religion and theology. The 2021 Marcella Althaus Reed Awards go to Reverend Monica Joy Cross and Kendra Twenter. With the Koinonia Award, the Pacific School of Religion Alumni Association honors graduating students who have strengthened PSR through their outstanding contributions of spirit, insight, and intellect during their time at the school. The Greek word koinonia, which appears frequently in the New Testament, is variously translated as community, fellowship, and sharing. The 2021 Koinonia Community Building Awards go to Carla Halliard, Oyasuru Farinwa, Zebulon Hurst, Shannon Kears High, Jacob Perez, and Susan Solverson. The Michael M. Mendiola Prize in Ethics. This prize is awarded to the graduating student who has submitted an outstanding essay or thesis on the questions of theodicy and human suffering or other important topics in contemporary ethics. The award is named for a much beloved former PSR ethics professor who served on the faculty from 1992 to 2009. Dr. Mendiola not only helped to birth the Center for LGBTQ and Gender Studies in Religion, but also made major contributions to the study of biomedical issues. This award was established at the time of his untimely death by faculty colleagues and friends in honor of his many contributions to the life of this institution. The 2021 Mendiola Prize in Ethics goes to Sarah Geddes. The Frida Smith Feminist Preaching Award. Honoring Reverend Elder Frida Smith, the first woman ordained in metropolitan community churches, who was known for her groundbreaking feminist preaching. This prize is awarded for a prophetic, innovative, and transformational feminist sermon. Feminist here is understood to mean advocating for the full humanity and the well-being of women, all women, including transgender women. The 2021 Frida Smith Feminist Preaching Award is shared by two of our wonderful students, Ivoni Mama and Zebulon Hurst. The Paul Wesley Yinger Preaching Award. The Paul Wesley Yinger Preaching Award is presented each spring to the graduating Master of Divinity student judged to be the most outstanding preacher with demonstrated dramatical skills and persuasiveness. The recipient is selected each year by a committee chaired by the Professor of Homiletics and other faculty who teach homiletics at PSR and the Dean of Faculty. This endowed award was established by the family and friends of Dr. Yinger, a noted United Church of Christ preacher who served as a trustee of Pacific School of Religion from 1962 to 1985. The 2021 Paul Wesley Yinger Preaching Award goes to two of our wonderful graduates, Mark Drew Johnson and Jacob Perez. Congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Congratulations, class of 2021. As we come to the point of awarding degrees on this day of Pentecost, I want to invite you to take a moment, as we were invited to do also by Kazu, and picture in your mind the community gathered around you at this moment. Your classmates, faculty, staff, families, congregations, and many others who have shaped your journey and made it possible. Take a deep breath as you imagine those who surround you. As each student receives a degree today, they will be joined on the screen by their advisor. In some instances, Dean Abraham is also the student's advisor. We will begin with awarding the Certificate of Theological Education for Leadership, and as we do so, we remember and give thanks for our sister, Reverend Janice Somerville, who served as Director of TEL and accompanied each of our TEL graduates through their journey.
Will the candidates for the Certificate of Theological Education for Leadership please rise? Mr. President, because these students have completed a designated one-year online program of theological exploration and study, I am authorized to present them as candidates for the Certificate of Theological Education for Leadership. In their cases and in others to follow, it is understood that graduation is contingent upon completion of all academic requirements at the end of this academic year.
I confer upon each of you the Certificate of Theological Education for Leadership, with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you a certificate.
Timothy C. Kroll.
Congratulations, Timothy.
Nancy G. Maxwell.
Congratulations, Nancy.
Elizabeth Spieth.
Congratulations, Elizabeth.
This one's for you, Janice, Reverend Janice.
Will the candidates for the Certificate of Sexuality and Religion please rise? Mr. President, because these students have completed a designated course of study with specialized training in sexuality, sexual orientation, gender identity, and religion, I am authorized by vote of faculty and the trustees to present them as candidates for the Certificate of Sexuality and Religion.
In the name and under the authority of the faculty and trustees of Pacific School of Religion, I confer upon you the Certificate of Sexuality and Religion with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you a certificate.
Sarah Elizabeth Geddes.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Zebulon Beatrice Hurst.
Congratulations, Seb.
Did it.
Joseph Ira Allen James Livingston.
Congratulations, Joe.
You.
Susan L. Solverson.
Yay!
Congratulations, Susan. We still can't quite see you.
Congrats, Susan. Kendra Nicole Twenter in absentia. Will the candidate for the Certificate of Spirituality and Social Change please rise? Mr. President, because these students have completed a one-year immersive course of study integrating theological reflection and spiritual formation with leadership for social change, I'm authorized by the vote of the faculty and trustees to present them as candidates for the Certificate of Spirituality and Social Change.
In the name and under the authority of the faculty and trustees of Pacific School of Religion, I confer upon you the Certificate of Spirituality and Social Change, with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you a certificate.
Malika Budili.
Congratulations, Malika.
Thank you.
Yes.
Katie Dickinson.
Congratulations, Katie.
Yay.
Carla Halliard.
Congratulations, Carla.
R. Rebecca Hobbs in absentia. Shannon Kears High.
Congratulations, Shannon.
What? Congratulations. Laura Keating Clevedence in absentia. Ivoni Mama.
Congratulations, Ivoni.
Thank you, Dr. Torres.
Henry Pablo III.
Congratulations, Henry.
Thank you.
Kristen Rothballer.
Congratulations, Kristen.
Thank you.
Nadia Tavera Medina.
Felicitaciones, Nadia.
Felicidades, Nadia.
Gracias.
Will the candidate for the Certificate of Advanced Professional Studies please rise? Mr. President, because this student has completed a designated course of theological study beyond what is required for a master's degree, I am authorized by vote of the faculty and the trustees to present him as a candidate for the Certificate of Advanced Professional Studies.
In the name and under the authority of the faculty and trustees of Pacific School of Religion, I confer upon you the Certificate of Advanced Professional Studies with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you a certificate.
Drew Johnson.
Congratulations, Drew.
Yay, beloved community.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts in Social Transformation please rise? Mr. President, because these students have completed a prescribed 2-year course of theological study that equips students to think critically about socio-political dynamics and reflect constructively on the role played by religion and theological tradition in movements of social change, I am authorized by the vote of the faculty and the trustees to present them as candidates for the degree of the Master of Arts in Social Transformation.
In the name and under the authority of the faculty and trustees of Pacific School of Religion, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts in Social Transformation, with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you a diploma and cause you to be invested with a hood for this degree.
Malika Budili.
Congratulations, Malika.
Oh, here it is now. Thank you.
Shannon Kears High.
Congratulations. Here, there, Shannon.
Woo, woo.
Woo, woo.
Laura Keating Clevedence in absentia. Ivoni Mama.
Congratulations, Ivoni.
Someone's blocking you. They're not allowing me.
Henry Pablo III.
Congratulations, Henry.
Nadia Tavera Medina.
¡Hey!
Felicitaciones, Nadia.
Gracias.
Will the candidate for the degree of Master of Arts please rise? Mr. President, because this student has completed a prescribed 2-year course of study with the presentation of a thesis, I am authorized by the vote of the faculty and the trustees to present her as a candidate for the degree of Master of Arts.
In the name and under the authority of the faculty and trustees of Pacific School of Religion and the Graduate Theological Union, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you a diploma and cause you to be invested with a hood for this degree.
Katie Dickinson.
You have to turn it on up.
Congratulations, Katie.
Yay! Thank you.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Theological Studies please rise? Mr. President, because these students have completed a prescribed 2-year course of theological study, I am authorized by vote of the faculty and the trustees to present them as candidates for the degree of Master of Theological Studies.
In the name and under the authority of the faculty and trustees of the Pacific School of Religion, I confer upon each of you the degree of Master of Theological Studies, with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you a diploma and cause you to be invested with a hood for this degree.
Julie Harris.
Congratulations, Julie.
Thank you.
Zebulon Beatrice Hurst.
Congratulations, Zeb.
Thank you. We did it.
Jacob Matthew Perez.
Congratulations, Jacob.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hillary Ida Sklar.
Congratulations, Hillary. That's a
Yay, congratulations, Hillary.
Yeah, Hillary.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Divinity please rise? Mr. President, because these students have completed a prescribed 3-year course of theological study, I am authorized by vote of the faculty and trustees to present them as candidates for the degree of Master of Divinity.
In the name and under the authority of the faculty and trustees of Pacific School of Religion, I confer upon each of you the degree of Master of Divinity, with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you a diploma and cause you to be invested with a hood for this degree.
Malika Budili.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Malika.
Thank you, friends.
Amandayo Edwards.
Yeah. Brian.
Congratulations.
Tepiloni Feleunga.
Congratulations, Sepuluni.
Sarah Elizabeth Geddes.
Wonderful, Sepuluni. Congratulations.
Carla Halliard.
Congratulations, Carla.
Yeah. Woo woo, Carla. Come on now.
Oyasuuru Ifawarinwa.
Congratulations, Farinwa.
They won't let me show myself. So I guess I can't. But thank you. It's for my ancestors.
Please help Ted, so that the video can come on.
Joseph Ira Allen James Livingston.
Congratulations, Joe.
This is for my people.
Come, Joe.
There you go, Joe.
Shannon Kears High.
Come on now. Thank you.
Congratulations, Shannon.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ivoni Mama.
Malo atu. Ivoni, good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ivoni.
Henry Pablo III.
Congratulations, Henry.
Magaling, Henry, magaling. Good job. Congratulations.
My poetry partner.
Madeline Sievertson.
Congratulations, Madeline.
Yay! Woo!
Susan L. Solverson.
Congratulations, Susan.
Woo! Come on, Susan.
I'm thinking I can't get my video to work either.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Yay!
I'd like to recognize Amandayo. Amandayo, you're on video. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Embodied.
Nadia Tavera Medina.
Felicitaciones, Nadia. Nadia.
All my family in Mexico.
Jacob M. Wilbur.
Congratulations, Jacob.
Well done, Jacob.
Excellent, Jacob. Whoops.
Can we have Farinwa and Ivoni back if possible?
Yes, please include their video. It's very important. Help them get on. Tech, help them get on, please.
I'm working. Can you repeat those names, please?
Yes. Ivoni Mama.
Yeah. Still unable. Still unable for the. Still unable. You cannot. Yeah. The host stopped it. That's the message I got.
Yeah, I'm not seeing your name is the problem. I'm trying my best here.
We're just going to hold on until the video comes on.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is for Imani Mama. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you, Reverend.
We're
Ivoni Mama.
I just. I'm just not. Is your name something else in the chat?
Mine could say Leslie Huff.
It's Ivani Mama. Ivoni.
It's there. It's right under Dean Susan Abraham.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
You're just going to wait. It's fine.
Ivoni, I'm going to pray that I said congratulations correctly.
I see it now. For whatever reason, it wasn't in alphabet. Okay.
That is
you good now?
Thank you, Dr. Cho. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
There we go.
Then you must get Oyasuru Ifala.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, and Oyasu.
Yes, please. Yay!
Yay! Congratulations, Farinwa.
Thank you. This is for my ancestors. That's why it's so important to me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yay!
Thank you, sons, for watching and all my family.
Yay, ancestors.
Yes. Thank you. I shall. Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us with that slight technical glitch, but we are so happy your students were able to be present. We will continue now. Will the candidate for the degree of Master of Arts and the Master of Divinity please rise? Mr. President, because the student has completed a prescribed 2-year course of study with the presentation of a thesis and completed a prescribed 3-year course of theological study, I am authorized by the vote of the faculty and the trustees to present her as a candidate for the degree of Master of Arts and the degree of Master of Divinity.
In the name and under the authority of the faculty and trustees of Pacific School of Religion and the Graduate Theological Union, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts and Master of Divinity, with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you these diplomas and cause you to be invested with both hoods for these. Congratulations.
Katie Kilby.
Congratulations, Katie.
Hi, Katie.
You're like,
Yay, Katie, you're on.
woo!
Where's the hood?
All the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. Witness now, I give you these diplomas, also to be vested with both goods. Go ahead.
Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Ministry please rise? Mr. President, because these students have completed a prescribed course of graduate professional study that integrates research and praxis with theoretical analysis and theological reflection for the good of communities of faith with the presentation of a thesis, I am authorized by vote of the faculty and the trustees to present them as candidates for the degree of Doctor of Ministry.
In the name and under the authority of the faculty and trustees of Pacific School of Religion, I confer upon each of you the degree of Doctor of Ministry, with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, I give you a diploma and cause you to be invested with a hood for this degree.
Reverend Martin Todd Allen.
Congratulations, Martin.
Woo! Woo!
Oh,
Reverend Monica Joy Cross.
Congratulations, Monica.
Reverend Ernest Libarios, posthumously. Reverend February K. Longoleo.
Congratulations, February.
Reverend Simi Ezelu Langai Maunga.
Congratulations, Simi.
Ibrahim Shabuddin.
Host has stopped it.
start my video. Just say start my video.
Congratulations, Ibrahim.
Barak.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Love you.
Thank you.
Reverend Megan Lee Osborne Snell.
Congratulations, Megan. Congratulations to all the graduates.
Congratulations to the class of 2021, the class that will never go back. On behalf of the entire PSR community and so many others who have supported you through your journey in graduate education, I'm thinking of significant others, family members, partners, friends, helpers, more than human companions, children, and so many more. We cannot overstate how ecstatic we are to be celebrating with you on this day. Let me say it very loud and clear. Well done. Well done. You could have chosen to be doing many other things in this time of your life, but you have chosen, something arose within you to join PSR in seeking out ways of being spiritually rooted and socially engaged in our world. And for those commitments, we commend you for your courage and for your perseverance. We also want to thank you because if we were being honest, if it was not for you, PSR would simply not be. And thanks to your wisdom, to your candor, to your authenticity, your agitations, and all that you have brought to our community, we are forever changed. You have fundamentally altered the course and the trajectory of PSR. We want to thank you for those profound levels of transformation that you have called us to. And for that, we can say we can never go back. And now as alum, we invite you to join us in the same spirit of hospitality to welcome those new to the fold who will be joining PSR, making way for their presence to offer us new and irreversible shifts for the sake of our communal and collective flourishing. For some of you, this commencement marks the fulfillment of a one-year journey. For others, perhaps a few more years than that. But it must be acknowledged that what you have endured to get to this point is nothing insignificant. We have persevered many things: political instability, climate catastrophe, the realities of increasing violence, and a global pandemic. All of this on top of the existential angst that accompanies the path of seeking to be present to the most interior depths of our human experience. This is truly a moment of historical significance, and we know the healing that is being yearned for, that is being called out to, will not just happen on its own, but it requires an attentiveness, a curiosity, and a compassionate presence. We know that our world needs these things, and we know that you will be that presence within the world. While some have characterized this time as mass disruption and others have used a word like apocalyptic, while both of these things would be true, the word I want to offer us is that this is a moment of enlargement. What do I mean by enlargement? Spiritually speaking, enlargement is not about acquiring a certain power to impose our will or way upon the reality of things. This is spiritual death. Spiritual enlargement is about our capacity to open ourselves and be transformed in relationship to the most vulnerable aspects of life. Those delicate aspects and realities such as the conflicts, the disturbances, the confusion, and the sufferings. All of these which necessitate a certain sensitivity, a certain spaciousness to be in relationship with. To assume a stance that does not abandon these things that need care the most. Rather, opening ourselves to a living relationship, holding these tender and delicate realities with a radical gentleness. This is the way of the meek. Chances are that you are only here because you have been a recipient of this gentleness. You have been a recipient of this enlargement that is taking place within life. That even through all that you have endured and experienced, you have also been granted something by this life that is seeking this enlargement. I want to invite us to take a moment just to recall to memory a time from your journey at PSR where you have received a granting, a glimpse of this enlargement through an act of generosity. Maybe it was an encouraging word you received. Maybe it came through a spiritual practice you engaged. Maybe it came from an affirmation from your life's work. Maybe it was someone outside the PSR community who supported you when you felt like giving up. Whatever it may be, I want to invite you to reflect back and take just a few moments of silence to savor this act of generosity together. Let's do that. Thank you for joining me in the practice of remembrance. I hope that together we do not or ever take for granted the divinity of seemingly small things. And that these experiences, regardless of how small they may seem, they communicate to us the truth that we are called to join life in this enlargement. Beloved, you are called to enlarge. What is so important about the enlargement that is taking place, that in order to make room for the more, we must first be emptied. This enlargement requires that we let go of all that hinders us from living in this truth. All the internalized oppressions, all the egoic patterns of superiority or inferiority, all the paralysis rooted in fear of the supposed powerful. And we are called to plumb the deepest depths of our being and to live collectively in connection with these depths. While so much has been lost and chiseled away, while so much has been pruned, and so much has been forcibly exposed through experiences of desolation, whether it be exhaustion or burnout, my question for you is, what is remaining? As the quote from Sonia Renee Taylor, who said, "What we have been forced to leave behind, we needed to leave behind, and what is getting us through, we will need to take forward. All the rest is up to us." What is remaining in you? What is remaining in our communities? What is remaining in the cosmos? After all that has transpired and all that will transpire, perhaps that which is remaining is also that which is of ultimate importance. What would it look like to refine our awareness, to choose to nourish this with an intimate connection and personal attention to that which is remaining? What would it look like to also choose to turn away from all that does not support our capacities to nourish that which is remaining and that which is most essential? What you need to know is that your life is not an accident. Your life is nothing short of a miracle. There is a unique genius and grace that you and your communities possess that this world is desperately crying out for, even if at times it is not recognized as such. I charge you today to simply be all that you so preciously are. To come out of hiding, to be good to yourself, and to simply surrender to the radiance of your innermost being, allowing it to fill the cosmos. As you move on from here, you will be called to people and places that you could never imagine. And the good news is you don't have to. For being prepared is better than having a plan. In the proper time, you will know what to do and you will know what to say. Your invitation is to simply allow for this enlargement that is happening to take place in the deepest depths of your own being, to your communities, and by refusing to live in anything less. I am confident you will do so. And as we do so together, as we assume this posture of open-heartedness and sincerity, devotion to that which is most important, the great mystery will appear and will lead us together in the ways we do not yet know. May the peace that passes all understanding guide you and support you in all ways. And so it is. Thank you.
Congratulations, 2021 graduates. My name is Sandra Nathan, and I am chair of the PSR Board of Trustees. On behalf of my colleagues on the board, I want to be the first one to welcome the class of 2021 into the circle of PSR alumnics, a distinguished group of spiritually rooted leaders committed to creating a world where all of us can thrive. Today, more than ever, the world needs your gifts and passions. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share this moment with you on your journey. And as Kazu shared with you, really encourage you to hold on to your sense of belonging to this community as we shape future generations of leaders. With the closing of this academic year, we say farewell to two amazing PSR staff. Patrick O'Leary, who retired as Chief Business Officer earlier this year, and Terry Dejaniak, who will retire from her position as Director of Facilities after 35 years of service at PSR. Terry and Patrick, we are so grateful to your years of service to our institution and students, and we wish you well in your future endeavors. We have also noted with sadness the passing of several important members of our extended community whose names have already been acknowledged. But I want to take a moment to share with you my own grief about the passing of Reverend Janice Somerville, whose work as Director of Theological Education for Leadership shaped many of you who are graduating today and generations of others before you. Reverend Janice, we feel your love, we feel your presence, and we know that you'll always be with us. I also want to take a moment to express gratitude for a remarkable faculty that has led the way in theological education while responding to the demands of this moment. So today we celebrate the promotion of Dr. Sharon Jacob to Associate Professor of New Testament, and look forward to welcoming Reverend Dr. Thomas Hermans Webster to our faculty as Assistant Professor of United Methodist Studies this fall. We also celebrate the research and renewal of sabbaticals that have been granted for this coming year for Dr. Dorsey Blake in the fall and for Dean Susan Abraham in the spring. Over this past year, we have also welcomed a number of remarkable new members to our community, including two members of our executive team. Natasha Lee as Vice President of Administration and Finance, and Jeffrey Fisher Smith as Vice President for Development. We are also thankful for Don Hill, who completed his term of service to the board, including serving as the board chair, and are delighted to welcome three new members to our Board of Trustees: James Bell, Arlene Mendoza, and Charles Buck. I want to thank our administrative leadership team, faculty, and staff for your dedication and commitment to the mission of PSR. In closing, I want to share a very special note of gratitude to our students for your presence and the special way you make this community stronger. As we emerge from this pandemic and all the police violence and other forms of oppression that we are experiencing on a daily basis, we are all called to stand up. There are churches and communities to reimagine. There are lives to restore. The fight for justice and equity must continue. PSR's legacy was formed in defining moments, and now, class of 2021, it is your turn. It's time to reinvent the story of grace and inclusion for a new world, for a new day, and to do so unafraid. Well, this concludes our 154th commencement exercises, and we will reconvene for the new academic year on September 7th, 2021. Again, my deepest congratulations to all the graduates, and may God bless each and every one of you. May He keep you, and may He hold you in the palm of His hand. Thank you.
I'd like to invite all of us just to take a few moments to look each other in the eyes. And given that we're all here on Zoom, looking each other in the eye may actually look like closing our eyes and just bringing the beautiful face of someone that you care about who's part of this ceremony into your mind's eye. Perhaps one of the graduates, perhaps a faculty member that has supported you, perhaps a family member that is here celebrating with you. Just offering that person a few words of gratitude. Thank you for being a reflection of God's grace, of God's forgiveness, of God's gifts, of God's beauty, for being a reflection of our own sadness, our sorrows, our fears, our pain, of our hopes, of our joys, of the possibilities that's ahead of us. And as you have this person's eyes in your mind's eye, knowing that there's most likely a pair of eyes staring back at you, thanking you, and reminding you of the truth of who you are. May we all continue to move forward with the courage to have our hardened outer shells of our hearts break wide open, so that from within that inner core, that we may find our truth of love, belonging, justice, and righteousness, and rise forward. Thank you all.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free from hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed